Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. Hey, what's going on, everybody? So we have an article from The Sun today, and we have a new survivor coming forward saying that she was raped and sexually assaulted at a party thrown for Prince Andrew at Jeffrey Epstein's townhouse in 2010. So like usual, I have not read the article yet. So we're going to dive into it together. The article is from The Sun, and the author is Emma Parry. Headline: Rape Lawsuit. New Epstein victim to file bombshell lawsuit claiming she was sexually assaulted at a party thrown for Prince Andrew. A new Jeffrey Epstein accuser is planning to file a bombshell lawsuit claiming she was raped by the convicted pedophile in his mansion, then sexually assaulted by a guest at a party thrown for Prince Andrew. Wow. So at that party, we know there were a lot of famous people. You know, off the top of my head, I don't have all of their names, but I know it was, people like George Stephanopoulos, Katie Couric, Mike Rose, Woody Allen, etc., etc. Now, we know that George Stephanopoulos is ABC's big dog, right? We know that he's one of their top guns, one of their, high-profile reporters, newsreaders, I guess I should say, because I don't really even consider him a journalist. But this is a man who gets on that TV and has the audacity to speak down to everybody else from his ivory tower and talk of all sorts of shit about everybody else. Meanwhile, this dude's hanging out with a convicted pedophile 2 years after the fact at this man's house. Meanwhile, while he's there, a girl is sexually assaulted, according to her report. Now, is this the kind of man that you want to get your news from? Is this the kind of man that you want to see on your TV and you say to yourself, this is a trustworthy guy. This is the kind of guy that I can trust. When he's hanging out with somebody like Jeffrey Epstein, while girls are being sexually assaulted at a party he's attending, this is a man that we should respect. This is a man we should trust. This is a man that ABC would go to the lengths that they went to protect? Oh, what, you think they squashed the Robach story for no reason? It's because of Stephanopoulos being involved, in my opinion. Stephanopoulos is ABC's darling. They love him. There's no way that they were going to throw him to the wolves. Instead, they'd rather throw the survivors to the wolves. And I've been saying it from the very beginning with the legacy media. The legacy media is complicit in the Jeffrey Epstein's cover-up at this point for their failure to do their job. In an exclusive interview, Caroline Kaufman, 26, told The Sun she was raped by Epstein at his New York home after she attended a meeting with him, believing it was a modeling casting when she was just 17. So, again, we see the Victoria's Secret ties and the Les Wexner ties coming into play. Again, he used his whole modeling spiel that he can get her hooked up as a model. And, of course, these young girls, they're like, oh, shit, I can become a model? They don't think that this big, rich guy who says he runs Victoria's Secret is going to harm them or assault them. They don't go into it with that in their mind. And then they show up with all these pie-in-the-sky dreams, thinking that they're going to be the next, runway top model or whatever it may be. Then they show up and they're assaulted by this sick, disgusting pervert. How many times do we have to see it, folks? How many times do we have to read articles from these survivors where this occurred? Caroline, who says she was recruited by a young woman aged 16 at a horse show, alleges the rape took place in early December 2010, just before Prince Andrew arrived at the property and 2 years after Epstein's first sex trafficking conviction. The prince was famously pictured walking through Central Park with the convicted pedophile during the same visit. Yeah, because, the Prince of Punkasses, a.k.a. the Prince of Lies, is such an honorable guy that he had to go to New York, folks. He had to go to this party with his convicted sex pal buddy, Jeffrey Epstein, and, he had to break up with him and stuff. But first, we have to have a party, though. Too terrified to leave, Caroline ended up staying at the mansion and attending a royal party at the Upper East Side house where she was approached by the Duke of York, the guest of honor. There is no suggestion Prince Andrew did anything wrong, and she claims he seemed to be into her but lost interest as soon as she said she was 17. Well, the prince knows what's up in New York. That's, you get yourself in big trouble, I guess, in New York for that. And he's probably, playing it coy, playing it smooth, too many people at the party, etc., etc. Later at the same party, Caroline says she was led into a back room by an unidentified guest who forced her to give him oral sex. This is the most important part of the story, in my opinion, not the fact that she was at a party for Prince Andrew, right? That's, that is what it is at this point. But the fact that an unidentified guest forced her to give him oral sex. I really would like to know who that unidentified guest is. Because, like I said, there were so many, elites at this party. It could be any of them, because we know at this point, at least myself, I don't trust any of these sick elites anymore. I don't know. They could all be involved in this shit for all that I know. And anyone hanging out with a convicted sex pedophile, a convicted sex offender after the fact is questionable in my opinion. Your whole entire behavior is questionable in my opinion. And I'm certainly looking at you sideways and under a microscope if you have such bad judgment that you're hanging out with this sick bastard. I'm coming forward now to let the world know how much of a monster Epstein really was, she told The Sun. Also, I want to encourage anyone who has ever been abused or experienced trauma, that they should come forward and talk about it and get proper care for it. Hey, you know what? This is a brave move on her part, and I applaud her, because one thing I've learned throughout this whole entire case, this whole entire investigation, is how hard it is for these girls to come forward, even when it's just dealing with, regular people in society. Never mind these high-profile folks that can utterly destroy your life. And again, we've seen it time and time again. These girls come forward with these allegations against these elite, and then they're destroyed by the lawyers, called all sorts of crazy names, called drug addicts, said that they're prostitutes, and they're just exposed to all sorts of disgusting behavior. And that's how these people get off so long. They know that most people don't want to go through a court battle, or most people don't want to have their name dragged through the media, etc., etc. So what they do is they leverage all of their power against these accusers, and then they force them into silence. Caroline's lawyer is Spencer Kuvin, who has represented 3 other Epstein victims and met the shamed financier before his death. He told The Sun, "I've verified with 2 potential witnesses. One is a relative and one is a non-relative, both who can place her at the date and time and location. I believe she is credible 100%. And at this point, every time a girl comes forward, in this case specifically, folks, now remember what I always say. I'm not a believe all women guy. I'm not a believe all guy either. I'm a believe the evidence guy. But when it comes to this case, this Jeffrey Epstein case in particular, I take every single allegation absolutely and positively seriously until I can do investigations into them and find out one way or the other what the deal is. So I'm going with the assumption here that she is being 100% factual about what she's saying. It fits the MO. It fits what we know Jeffrey Epstein's patterns are, and it certainly fits that one of his guests would force her to have oral sex with him. They thought these young girls were nothing but, something to be passed around amongst themselves. They didn't even look at these young ladies as humans, folks. When you're trafficking human beings, modern day slavery, you certainly are not looking at these girls as human beings. And Jeffrey Epstein and all of his little disgusting elite buddies, that's how they rolled. Kuvin said that he has obtained co-counsel, and they plan to file a lawsuit in the next couple of weeks in New York. Caroline is also prepared to cooperate with prosecutors investigating Epstein's co-conspirators, Kuvin said. Another one. This is awesome stuff, and it's brave from Caroline. She's going to face a lot of scrutiny here. She's going to face a lot of people coming out and talking garbage about her, but it's a brave move on her part, and again, it adds more context to the story. Another piece of the puzzle falls into place. Epstein was convicted of child sex crimes in 2008, but only served 13 months as part of a sweetheart deal with prosecutors. Now, He was arrested again in 2019 and charged with a raft of sex trafficking offenses, but died in his jail cell in August in what officials ruled a suicide. Prince Andrew came under intense scrutiny when he was pictured with Epstein, even after the disgraced financier's conviction. Oh, well, he shouldn't have been? Everybody should have just been okay with, the Prince of England running around with a convicted pedophile, a convicted sex offender? Everyone should have just been A-okay with that. Should have been backslapping each other, and, it's okay, don't worry about the prince. He's an honorable guy. He's wearing the right kit today. He has since claimed in a BBC interview that he only went to New York to end his relationship with Epstein when the infamous photo was snapped. The prince said he wanted to tell Epstein that the pair could no longer remain in contact face-to-face and only stayed at his Manhattan home because it was a convenient place to stay. It's such bullshit. That is such bullshit. A guy like Prince Andrew would have the keys to the city, the Waldorf Astoria, whatever it may be. He would have whatever he wanted at a place like that. Are you kidding me? The marketing that the hotel could do with the prince being there, they'd love that. Boy, they would love that. But instead, a man who has all the resources in the world, a man who has the whole entire world at his fingertips, chooses to bunk up with his pedophile buddy Jeffrey Epstein. All in the name of convenience and honor, folks. Andrew has also been involved in his own sex scandal involving Epstein. You say that again. He has been accused of having a sexual encounter with Virginia Roberts, who claimed she was sex trafficked by the billionaire when she was 17 in London and New York a year later at a party on Epstein's private island in the Virgin Islands. The prince has strenuously denied all allegations brought against him. In a statement last year, the palace said any suggestion of impropriety with underage minors is categorically untrue. So, the palace again. I have a lot to say about Buckingham Palace at this point. I believe that they're on their way out. We talked about that earlier in one of the other podcasts, how I believe that they're a dynasty in its dying throes, and I don't think that they're going to be able to survive this Jeffrey Epstein scandal that has embroiled the prince. It is emphatically denied that the Duke of York had any form of sexual contact with Virginia Roberts. Any claim to the contrary is false and without foundation. Prince Andrew added, "At no stage during the limited time I spent with Epstein did I see, witness, or suspect any behavior of the sort that subsequently led to his arrest and conviction." The limited amount of time he spent with him. Bro, you had a sleepover at his house. You guys built the fort. All right? You guys built the fort in the living room, had a sleepover, and watched movies. Okay? What do you mean you had no limited contact with him? After you were done sexually assaulting girls at his house, you guys would go downstairs and, have your cup of wine or whatever it might have been and laugh about it, I'm sure. You sick, disgusting prince of lies. The Sun reached out for comments on Caroline's claims. So, I guess we'll hear some more as this moves forward into a lawsuit. We'll hear more from Spencer Kuvin, and maybe we'll hear some more from Caroline, and she'll add some more context to it. So basically, this is just an outline of another accuser who's coming forward and saying that they were assaulted and raped at Jeffrey Epstein's house while Prince Andrew was there. Now, she's not saying she was raped while Prince Andrew was there. That was before he arrived there. But she is saying she was sexually assaulted and forced to perform fellatio on somebody while she was at Prince Andrew's party. Now, you see how disgustingly sick this is? You see how all of these people that associate with Jeffrey Epstein act like they didn't know what he was or what he was doing, even after the fact, even after he was convicted? How can we believe any of these people? They're not even honest about the most basic things in this case. So we're going to believe them when they say, "Oh, I had nothing to do with it. I had no idea Jeffrey Epstein was running a trafficking ring. I had no idea. I thought all of those young girls that were around him were..." I still haven't seen anyone give a proper excuse for that, a proper answer for that. There's no excuse for it, and there's no answer for it. If I ever showed up at one of my friends' houses and they had a bunch of young girls running around, I'd be turning around and heading right out the door. I mean, this is not normal. It's not normal for a man Jeffrey Epstein's age, a dorky-ass, nerdy-ass rich dude like that, to have a bunch of young girls around him, unless he's up to something disgusting, folks. All right? And we've seen it time and time again. All of these rich and famous people who attended Jeffrey Epstein's parties, hung out with Jeffrey Epstein, they all think that they're going to fly under the radar. I have news for them. They're not. Here on this podcast, we're going to discuss each and every one of these people who had a role to play in the Jeffrey Epstein trafficking ring. And we're going to keep on going, folks. We're going to keep on plugging away until the whole picture becomes clear. All right, everybody, if you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. And if you like the podcast and you enjoy the content and you would like to help out, you can do that by clicking on the GoFundMe link inside of the description box. All right, folks, I'll be back later on with part 2 of the Core 4 series. I hope everybody enjoys their Saturday.